Good afternoon again, and welcome to SciTech Interactive. We had a little bit of a technical problem here. That's very rare for us. We're gonna have a great show today, but I'm getting another problem here. We got a problem here. For some reason, my teleprompter is set for last week's show. My teleprompter shows that we have a. Rabbi, I think we have a problem. I guess you guys didn't know this, but like politics today, we do everything on a teleprompter because we don't do any ad-libbing.
Right.
And it has last week's show in there. It says we're talking about Hanukkah again. I know that's a mistake because we planned a huge holiday special today. We had dancing elves. We had, I think Andy Williams was coming in. He was going to sing a little bit. We had the plate twirling. Hold on, wait a minute. Hold on. I'm getting a message.
I'm dreaming of a white Hanukkah.
Oh, white Hanukkah. Wait, I'll get a message. Ooh, holiday show is canceled. Rabbi, do we have anything else to say about Hanukkah? Because we are now kind of have to go this by the seat of our pants today.
Well, it seems to me that we can always find one more thing to say about Hanukkah.
I knew you'd come through.
And here we are on day 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 of Hanukkah. So this is pretty special. And we've got this menorah lit in front of us. And the question is, why? What's the menorah all about?
Good question.
Okay. You all know the story. Everyone knows this story. They were fighting against the Greeks. The Greeks took over the temple. They led an insurrection. They were beating the Greeks back. There was a war going on. They finally fought their way to Jerusalem. They fought their way into Jerusalem. They vanquished the Greeks from the temple. They reclaimed the temple for the Jews. When they got in, they wanted to start the service up again. It had turned into an idolatrous service. One of the things that you have in the temple in Jerusalem is a menorah, a big candelabrum, which is probably about 8 feet high. They used to have to walk up to it on a staircase, and every day that menorah would be lit. And every day it would burn all day long. They have a jug of oil. They'd pour the jug into the cups. Seven branches in the menorah. A jug of oil would be poured into the cups, and it would burn all day long until the next morning when it would go out. They would clean it all out and relight it, and it would burn another day.
So all 7 branches were lit?
All 7 branches. So then, when they came back into the temple now, and they're reclaiming it from the Greeks, they wanted to relight the menorah.
Right, makes sense.
And they wanted to relight it from pure oil. Now the truth is they couldn't find any pure oil, but they found one jug of pure oil, and that jug had the seal of the Kohen Gadol on it, so they knew that it had been not tampered with, hadn't been defiled by any pagans.
So the Greeks defiled the rest of the oil.
Defiled everything in the whole temple.
Wow.
Because all their pagan stuff and, licentious behavior and all that, it was all defiled. So they poured in the one jug of oil, and lo and behold, it burned for 8 days, and that was just as long as it took them to be able to make new pure oil and bring it for burning in the menorah. And here we are observing this every year, remembering that miracle by lighting every day another light until we get to 8 lights, because it burned for 8 days.
Gotcha. All right. That's the basics.
Right.
So the big question is the whole miracle question. I know we talked about it a little bit last week here. Sorry, I'm a little flustered, but I spent a lot of time training my dogs to bark jingle bells for the song here, and they're very upset. So it's hard for me to change course here. So they're going to be upset, but we'll have to deal with that later. But
can they bark Happy Hanukkah?
We're working. We're going to have to train again. This is, I can't take this ad-libbing here. So, but the question is again about the miracle, the whole situation. Here they are. They fight this great war. The few go out and they just destroy the Greeks, the strongest power in the entire world. That sounds like a pretty good miracle to me. Right. But instead, here we are, 2,000 some years, 3,000 years later, celebrating that we found a little jug of oil that lasted for 8 days. I'm a little confused about the miracle.
That's right. That's right. You remember the 6-Day War?
I remember.
What day did it end on? Or what day did it start on?
The first day. Oh, no.
What was the date?
Was it Hanukkah? I don't think it was. I thought it was in the summer, but I don't.
Well, you're close.
Yeah.
It was in June.
It was in June. Okay, I knew.
Do you remember the date?
No.
No. How long ago was that?
It was 67. So
yeah, 67. Okay. So that's 43 years ago.
Right.
Okay.
Right.
And most people would be hard pressed to be able to come up with the date of that war. That war was a pretty amazing war.
I wasn't born yet, so I don't know.
Right. Well, I was born, as a matter of fact.
Right.
And I even remember listening to it on the radio. And no, it wasn't like that. The whole family was sitting around the radio. We had television also. But I just happened to remember listening to all the events on the radio. And we don't remember it. That was an amazing few, the many into the hands of the few, right? And everyone thought the Jews were dead. The Jews thought the Jews were dead.
Right.
You know, the Jews had prepared, like the funeral societies had prepared like thousands and thousands of shrouds because they thought Jews were going to be dying all over the place, and it turned into a great miracle. And here we are, 43 years later, and you don't even know what time of the year it happened, much less what date.
That's true. That's what you think that we would be celebrating that one.
Right. So we have the same issue, and that issue comes up throughout history. We've had many big events occur to us,
Right.
and you would think that we would always remember this: the great miracle of the many taken by the few, the strong vanquished by the weak. What a wonderful story.
It is.
It is, except you know what? You wouldn't even remember it. You don't remember when the Six-Day War happened, and your kids probably won't even remember what the Six-Day War is.
That's probably true.
Most people won't. And it was a huge victory, but people don't. Now, when the miracle of the oil happened, and the rabbis say that you light that menorah, you ask any Jew anywhere, what's this menorah all about? And they'll tell you there was a jug of oil, it burned for 8 days. Now people might say, I don't believe it, but everyone remembers that.
Right.
That is something that every single person remembers. And that is really what God had in mind. He was trying to point out to us, we don't remember things that we can write off as being natural. Oh, the great Israeli fighter pilots, the wonderful tactics that were used, the strong, valorous Israeli soldiers as opposed to the weak, cowardly Arab soldiers and blah, 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 blah. And we come up with all these reasons.
Right.
And they may or may not be true. I don't know. But all I do know is that once we can explain it, then it becomes normal. And once it's normal, we don't pay attention to it anymore. One of my rabbis showed me an article written many years ago in Reader's Digest, wherein the author said, if we read about the Israeli War of Independence, you would think it was miraculous, like something that would be written up in the Bible. But we know that's not true because we really saw it happen.
Right.
That means if you see a miracle happen, then it wasn't a miracle.
Okay, now I got you.
Miracles are only things that are told about then, because if you see it, it couldn't have been. Right?
That's logical, yeah.
Right. Guy told me the other day that he was sitting in a restaurant in New Orleans. He wasn't sitting in a restaurant. He said his friend was sitting in a restaurant in New Orleans. And he's with another friend. And all of a sudden, his friend said to him, he all of a sudden he had just had this feeling, I got to get out of here. And he grabbed his friend and he just ran from the booth of the restaurant. He was sitting right by the window. Seconds later, a car came through the window of the restaurant and just totaled the whole area.
That's amazing.
Right. So he said he went back to the restaurant like a day later to just like survey the scene. The table that he was sitting at was like all the way on the other side of the restaurant. Like just completely knocked across the room. So now he's got a problem because he's a doctor. What's his problem?
Well, his problem is science versus miracle here. What's going on here?
That's right. So his mind tells him that his peripheral vision, unbeknownst to him, unbeknownst to his conscience, his peripheral vision picked up on the fact that the car was coming at him and said, run. But his heart tells him that his deceased mother screamed at him, get out of there. And you know, he heard in his mind, he heard his mother saying, get out of there. So he's got a big problem.
Yeah, that's
miracle or not? And since he's a doctor, he's been trained not to believe in miracles, so what do you do? So that's the question. Why the miracle? What do miracles mean? What do miracles mean for us in our life?
Well, that's a good one. I've always heard, like, I guess it's in the Pirkei Avos, it says if it happens once, it's a miracle. When it starts happening many times, it's natural. That's nature.
Right. That's right.
How that works?
Now, nature is a really important thing to remember. Nature is only natural when it starts happening with frequency. Right? If it doesn't happen often, then it's not natural.
So if the sea splits, it's a miracle. If the sea splits tomorrow again, and maybe on Sunday, then it's
or
nature.
and if the sea splits every Tuesday, or even if the sea splits every 1,846 years.
Right.
But if it starts happening with a certain regular
Then
frequency,
it's a natural phenomenon.
then it's a natural phenomenon. But that is really a trick. It's a ruse. The fact that we see things repeating themselves over and over and over again is because God makes them repeat themselves over and over again so that we could explain it as being natural. But we could also explain it as being a miracle that repeats itself. Every now and then, God steps in and he does something different, like the one jug of oil burning for 8 days, and that tells you, all the rest of the stuff, the battle, when the few defeated the many and the weak defeated the strong, and all that stuff, that was a miracle too. Maybe I could make a song out of that. That was a miracle.
That sounds familiar,
okay.
yeah.
So that's the whole idea, and that's when God will step in to things. Now, what does that tell you?
Well, I mean, it says, number one, I mean, obviously, everything that occurs is a miracle, but every once in a while, either God's got to give us a little sign here, keep us going, give us a little hope. I mean, was that what the miracles were for here?
Try on this scenario.
Okay.
You were driving through a bad neighborhood.
Yep.
You've got somewhere very important to go, and you've got to conclude this deal. It means a lot of money. You could lose a lot if you don't get there on time. You look down at the gas gauge, and you notice that you're driving on empty.
Oh.
Not only are you driving on empty, but you realize your kids borrowed the car and once again didn't put gas in it. So now you're driving, It is late at night, you are driving through a very unsavory place, you really have to get where you're going, and you are about to run out of gas and you are scared. You drive along half a minute further and put, the car runs out of gas.
Right.
You coast over to the side. You are really uncomfortable. You don't even know where a gas station is. You get out of the car. I'm going to have to start walking for a gas station. I have to find a gas station if I make it there alive. You take 2 steps, and there in front of you is sitting a gas can. Got gas in it.
Wow.
Just sitting there, right there on the sidewalk.
Filled with gas.
Filled with gas. You go, wow. Wow. You take the gas can, you put it in the car, you get in, you start driving. And you drive around looking for a gas station, and you pull into a gas station. As you pull up to the pump, the car runs out of gas.
Perfect.
Which tells you that there was just exactly the amount of gas in that can to get you to where you wanted to go.
Wow.
Okay. You're happy.
You're definitely happy.
You're happiest guy around, right?
Right.
You're calling up mom, dad, you call everyone, you call everyone, you tell them what happened. Everyone, of course, doesn't believe you.
No, yeah, right.
Right. You're crazy. What have you been doing?
Right.
Come on, Jeff. I thought you got over that stuff.
Right.
I thought
When you were younger.
Come on. Yeah, leave the peyote in the. Okay.
Right.
So anyway, but you know what happened. Now, you could be happy for 2 reasons. Reason number 1, why am I happy? Because I didn't get killed in that neighborhood. I got to where I was going on time. I could have been, who knows what happened.
Right.
I was terrified. I was saved. I was done for, and I have been saved. Thank you, God. You did a miracle. You saved me. And not only that, I'm a wealthy man today when I could have been flat broke, and now I'm wealthy because it all worked out.
Right.
That's one way to look at it. There's another way to look at it.
Okay.
The other way is you stop and you say, wow, God was watching me when I was driving. God saw my gas gauge. God decided to leave a gas can for me right where I needed it. God is paying attention to my life.
True.
He's involved intimately with me. He is actively involved with me. And you go, wow, what is the significance of that? I mean, thank God, I got out of there. I didn't get harmed. I made the appointment on time. Everything, great. But think of the implications. The implications are
Right.
God is thinking about me, actively involved, intimately involved, down to the point where he's really putting a gas can right down there for me. He's watching me. That is amazing. Now you could say, well, God could have just made a gas gauge like go back up and you'd get there.
That would have been a little easier.
It would have been easier. What would you have lost?
You would have lost the whole miracle thing here.
And you would therefore have lost the message
That God is in your life.
God's in your life.
Now, I know a lot of people who probably would have read that just the opposite. I cannot believe God made my car run out of gas in this menu.
Right.
So,
So there was a guy, I don't know who it was, a week or two ago?
Right.
A week or two ago, some guy drops a pass in, some guy drops a pass in the end
in
zone.
the Giants game. Yeah.
Yeah, he drops a pass like in the end
Right,
zone,
right.
would have won the game.
Blame God.
And he blamed God.
But is that a good thing or a bad thing? At least he realized that God was in the game there.
Right, that's right.
So I'm not sure if that was good or bad.
That's right. Now, listen, it is true that he was feeling it, God, but he said, no, I'm done with God because he was really mad at God for blowing that pass.
Well, to his credit, he did drop 3 other passes too in the game, so God probably wasn't
he
really...
was covering up for God.
Right, yeah.
He was just covering for God on that one.
Right.
He says, I only dropped the other ones just so that God didn't look bad.
Right.
So, yeah, that's true. You could blame God, but if it is within your ability, yeah. But sometimes when something happens, if you take a jug of oil and it can't burn for 8 days, anyone could tell you, maybe a little bit more than a day. Normally it burns for 1 day, and you get 8 days out of it, it's obviously a miracle.
Right.
There's no doubt about it. This is a bona fide miracle. And that's what God was doing. He was trying to intrude into all of this and say, hey guys, I know you're fighting a war. I know you're really into this. I know it's really important to you. I know you're really happy and you're really grateful about the fact that I made it work out. And let's assume that they were good religious guys, and when they won the battle, I said, thank you, God, for us winning. But God was saying, don't just be happy that you won. Be happy of the fact that your winning was a sign that I'm involved in your life.
Interesting.
Because more important than the particular success is the significance of the success.
See, that's interesting. Now, it does lead to another problem. And I've actually discussed this problem with some of I have family members, I have people up north, northeast, a little bit, as we talked about before, a little bit more on the liberal side of their thinking. What has God done for me lately? Problem is, once you start doing miracles, what about tomorrow? I did run out of gas tomorrow. I did drop the pass in the end zone. Even though this guy made it all through college, was recruited, went pro, as we were talking about,
right.
Catches passes, everything. He dropped the pass in the end zone that would have won the game. What have you done for me lately? Yeah, you split the sea. So now, as some of my friends and relatives up north would say, those aren't miracles. You found the gas can because the gas can was there. How's that a miracle? And I say, I'll give an example. Well, look, it was not a miracle when your child was born. Everybody has a child. That's not a miracle. When I see the sea open up, when I see why aren't we splitting any seas today? Why don't we have these huge miracles? Once God starts, he can't stop.
That's right. But it's all dependent on your definition of what I want.
Right.
And maybe God decides that you want or need something different. How many times do you say, I have a friend who, one time I borrowed a truck from a guy, had to move a piece of furniture, borrowed his pickup, drove his pickup back home, and I left my car, borrowed his pickup all the way across town, borrowed the pickup, dropped off the piece of furniture, went back, dropped off the pickup, went to go get in my car, no car keys. So I realized, oh my gosh, when I was home dropping off the piece of furniture, I put down the car keys, I left them there, I don't have my car keys here.
Right.
So I said to the guy, okay, I'm going to call my wife, she'll have to come over. He said, I'll take you. I said, no, don't do that. He says, let me take you. Get in the car. He drives me back across town. While we're driving back across town, the guy tells me a story. His story is that he was an alcoholic. And he told me a story, and it was a bad story. Alcoholic, wrecked his life, lost his relationship with his wife, lost his relationship with his kids. Business was going down the tubes and all that. His wife said, I'll give you one more chance. One more chance. Your daughter is going to be given some award at some college, high school somewhere. It's at 4 o'clock in the afternoon. You have to be there. Don't drink anything. Be sure you're there. So he says, okay. About 2 in the afternoon, he's got the bottle on the desk, pulls out the bottle, he starts drinking. his wife calls him up at 4 o'clock.
Oh,
You're
no.
not here. She says, you're drunk, aren't you? I knew it. That's the end. We're done. You're all done. That's it. So the guy goes, oh my gosh, I'm supposed to. He goes running out of his room. He gets in the car.
Right.
He's stone drunk.
He's drunk.
He gets
right?
in the car to go, like, rush over there, right? And he drive in the parking lot, puts the car in drive, and drives straight ahead. Except that he was at the edge of a retaining wall. Right.
That's not a good thing.
So instead of backing up and driving out of the parking lot, he
Right.
drove forward. So he drove over the retaining wall.
Right.
The car miraculously got hung up with the chassis of the
So
car
he's hanging.
hit the and so he's like hanging like
Right.
this. So a crowd gathers. He's sitting in the car. He's stone drunk. The thing is hanging over a retaining wall.
Right.
Finally, he manages to get the door open. He flings himself out onto the ground and passes out stone cold. A crowd gathers around. He opens his eyes, and there's a crowd looking at him, and his wife is in the crowd, and she's leering at him. Anyway, suffice to say, that was rock bottom.
That was his bottom.
He got in the 12-step program.
Right.
Then he starts to tell me about what the 12-step program did for him. And he starts to tell me the lessons about life and what he learned about life, what he learned about being a husband, what he learned about being a father, what he learned about being a person. And I was just listening, like my eyes were huge, and I was just listening to, and he just told me all this whole story and all the lessons of life. And he said, he doesn't have any regrets. He says, you realize this is a good thing. He said, that whole problem that he went through and everything that happened, he says, and God was with me. He should have been dead 100 times because he was reckless and he was drunk and he was an alcoholic. He was killing himself. And yet God saved him, and not only that, made him into what he is now.
That's an amazing story. So I guess, which is an amazing story. So I guess the thing really is, if we have our eyes open here, we see the miracle. If we don't look at the problems God's causing you, or we don't even think about it. Life is tough, life is bad, nothing goes right. But as this guy realizes, and many people have similar stories, that was all there for a reason. And if you open your eyes, you see it, and that's the miracle.
That's right. And that's why we light those candles.
That's interesting.
Every night we light those candles and we remind ourselves that once upon a time, or every now and then, God intruded and did a irrefutable miracle so that we would realize that the rest of life is full of godly interaction and miracles.
So I guess the real thing we were supposed to realize, it's not just, you don't have to have, we don't have to see the amazing, like the sea opening up, or the bush on fire without burning. Miracles are every day, but every once in a while, God gives us a good one here. Gives us a good one just to let us know, to remind us what's going on.
That's right.
I like that. Okay.
There we go.
That is actually good.
So that's why we light them in the windows. We light them by the front doors.
Right.
We light them so that people can see and remember that a miracle was done. And we don't need a miracle today to be done for us, because this one reminds us that there was a miracle done for us today. Open your eyes and see it.
So that's the real lesson of Hanukkah. The real lesson of Hanukkah isn't just getting presents. It's not just the real lesson of Hanukkah is there are miracles every day, and we've got to see them.
There you go.
I gotta like that.
Yeah.
All right, that's
Right.
not bad.
That's right.
I'm glad we did an extra show on this here. And it's not probably as exciting as it could have been with the dancing dogs and the elves and everything like that, but this is pretty good.
Now, the real neat thing is that, from what I understand, these also are miraculous lights, and Sidekick is going to be running a special. We're going to have this menorah on for the next 8 days, and we're going to see if they ever burn out.
Wow. So
Just
it could be
keep
like a
watching.
miracle.
People got to watch. I want everyone all around the world to be watching this and see if
we have a
these
miracle.
lights ever go out or not.
Wow, that's huge.
Yeah.
Another miracle would be is more people next week, and we'll come up with a topic later, watch the show.
That's
that would be a
right.
huge miracle. Then we know something went real well here.
That's right.
Oh. Well, I'm excited. This is good. I actually learned something. I'm feeling good. We had a sequel this
Yeah.
week. This was
and
great.
Got a nice big crowd watching, so that's great.
This is. All right, well, happy Hanukkah. That's great. This is
Happy
exciting.
Hanukkah to you.
And next week, on Monday at 12:15, we'll have a new exciting topic, which we'll get out to you early so you all know about it. See you
That's
next
right.
week.
And let's see what's it
come
going to
on.
be.
Let's see if we got a miracle here.
Come on!
What a
All
miracle.
right.
Amazing.
I love this dreidel.
This is good stuff. Rigged.